Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the first ever 17th episode of Baseball versus the World, a podcast about how baseball relates to the world and how the rest of the world relates to baseball, part of the Just Baseball Media Network. I am your host and guide on this maiden voyage, as always, through the vast cosmos of all things baseball. Javier Reyes, staff writer here at justbaseball.com, as well as the host of the Locked On Padres podcast. You can go check out my writing for the site and other things. Go check out last week's episodes. We were comparing every Major League Baseball team to to a movie. We picked a movie for each National League team and American League team. And all y'all that were hopping on Instagram were very pleased with our answers. And I just want to shout out all of you for, I like it when people can't read. You know what I mean? And I said, you have to watch the episode to get the explanation. But today's episode, it might not be too bad out of context. We are going to be doing a fantasy baseball draft for the best fictional baseball players in history. And for a great topic like that, I have to have one of the best guests. As you all know, I only allow illustrious guests on the show. And this is yet again another one. It is a superstar, folks. You might have seen him covering not just the Locked On, for Locked On Royals back in the day. He now covers for the Oklahoma City media. He's an NBA credentialed Oklahoma City Thunder media member. He hosts the Locked On Thunder podcast. He's also the lead writer over at Sports Illustrated for the Thunder, and he covers the draft for the NBA. So while those qualifications don't exactly say baseball, he is great. My good longtime friend, Mr. Rylan Stiles. That was a long introduction. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here. Along with those credentials, also has watched way too many baseball movies. So we can make it work with the fantasy draft today.
Absolutely, man. And for a fun fact about Rylan, he has one of my favorite traditions among any baseball fan I know, which is he likes to watch Moneyball. Speaking of baseball movies, before every opening day. Is it opening day or is it right like the day before?
Yeah, the day before opening day.
Mm-hmm. Love
There's
that.
no games being played, and you just sit back and watch Moneyball.
Exactly. It feels right, doesn't it? There's something about that movie that just feels right. It's like a nice soothing tea, at times. It's just good stuff. Rylan, man, this is going to be a lot of fun. And I think that we've related to this one for a while. We're going to be drafting 8 players, 1 pitcher, and we'll also be naming a team captain at the end of this. You guys can all vote. We'll be posting the graphics and whatnot on social afterwards. But fictional baseball. And here is the thing. It's fictional. Okay. So they have to have been in a movie, a video game, a book even though neither of us read. Whatever you want, you can pick that. They are eligible. However, there is one really, really important rule, and that is what I am calling the Malcolm Gladwell rule. A rule named after, or I'm naming this rule after Malcolm Gladwell because he is famous for some NBA discourse over on the Bill Simmons podcast. I wanted to do this in honor of Rylan since he is a big NBA hole. Had him on the show, and basically Malcolm Gladwell back in the day, he did this thing and this is a deep cut for NBA fans. He basically tried to make the case that Nigeria would field the greatest basketball team known in human history. And he did so much mental gymnastics that it was like, okay, in that case, like I could field the best Puerto Rican team in history. Like if he's made so many leaps and bounds. So what this means is you cannot pick a player or a character that played baseball once. They have to really be tied to baseball, i.e., I cannot pick Spider-Man because there's been 1 or 2 comics that were really funny that he played baseball in. Because then we would just be picking superheroes, we would be picking the giant, super powerful anime characters and whatever, right? And that wouldn't be as fun. So instead, we're doing characters that really are tied to baseball. And if we do pick one, the other person can, they could object. I don't think we're going to have too many objections in this, but even still, those are the rules. Rylan, do you have any thoughts before we enter this and before I whip your ass?
Yeah, I'm just excited to get going. I mean, I've never lost a draft to you, Javi. We've had many in our day, so I look to keep that streak alive.
Unfortunately, Rylan's actually probably not lying. We've done a bunch of drafts before, and I got absolutely destroyed. The Thanksgiving draft was one of our greatest works.
Your worst take you've ever had in your life.
What was it that I picked? Corn. What was it that I picked?
Corn carrot casserole.
Yeah, it was a casserole.
5 best dishes.
I choked. I couldn't find anything else. So I just had to Google, and I was like, okay, this is it. That will not happen this time. We're gonna flip a coin online because I do not currently have one around me. I've looked around, but you know what? Frankly, Rylan, you're the guest of the honor. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to give it to Rylan. He has the first pick in the first ever baseball versus the world fictional baseball player draft. Sir, what do you got?
Wow, this is a lot of pressure. I've narrowed my list down to 3, so I'm for sure going to get one on the back end, I think. With the first overall pick. I'm going to go Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
Oh! Oh! Let me tell you, folks, that is not what he said he was going to do before we started recording. Okay, give your reasoning. Go ahead.
Listen, I was between him and Sanchez. I mean, I think that's a clear 1A, 1B. I'd be shocked if he did not pick Sanchez number 2. My thing is, though, there is a wider scope of people who have watched Sandlot versus who have played backyard baseball. Backyard baseball was a wonderful, dare I say, delicious time in our history. But, you know, there's some elders who might be listening to this that did not get into the throes of backyard sports, but they did watch Sandlot, and Sandlot is a timeless classic. And, you know, there's no debating, right, how good Benny the Jet Rodriguez is. It's a 5-tool player. This is someone who has longevity as well, because you get to see in his movie his entire lineage of as a child to a teenager to a MLB player. So he not only was good early, he was good late as well. Give me Benny.
I mean, Benny
with the Jets.
And here's the thing. I was going to pick Benny if you hadn't gone, because Benny is like, you know, one of the things that we don't talk enough about in baseball is character, right? This is a man who stands up for everybody, right? This has been showcased many times. Obviously, Scotty is the biggest thing, but this guy, he is the most popular, but that he uses his popularity to help out the little guy. And I think that is going to be important when you're dealing with so many potentially, like, you know, crazy players. Like, we're drafting movie characters, so you have some crazy players. And also the clutch factor is really key here, I think, with Benny the Jet Rodriguez. Not just outrunning the beast, as everybody knows, not just coming up clutch and beating the snot out of those preppy baseball kids, but also, Rylan, dare I say, this man said to that bullied Scotty Smalls, just sit there and hold up your glove. Do you know how clutch you have to be to hit the ball specifically into where his glove would be, knowing he's not going to move? That's some, like, divine shit. I don't know about you, man. That is genuinely crazy stuff.
It's special stuff. And I think that he's the rare locker room glue guy who's also a superstar.
Exactly. I feel like you can't really find too many of those. I think there's a couple more in baseball movies that you could find, but nonetheless, great pick, Rylan. Had to start it off that way. And you know what? I'm going to go chalk, only because I don't want you to have him, and it's going to influence the social media poll too much, even though I don't actually think he should be necessarily going second, although I have no problem with it. It is, of course, Pablo Sanchez, as Rylan just mentioned, from Backyard Baseball. Look, this man's a legend. Has it gotten to the point where I think people, like, over discuss him? Maybe a little bit, right? Just a tiny bit. Because in fairness, it's been a while since the man has played ball. But what I think, here's the thing. Secret Base, for people who aren't familiar, they do really great content, diving deep into all things sports, really unique takes. They actually did recently interview with the backyard baseball developers, and they also talked about just if he really is the greatest player of all time. And I was curious, because I was like, maybe nostalgia goggles took over and we don't realize that he was good, but not necessarily the best. No, Pablo Sanchez was the best, and he was significantly the best in basically every sport. I recommend everyone go check out that video for the full breakdown of it. It's really, really fun when you go into the next gen stats. And also super small strike zone. That helps. You know what I mean? Hey, we've seen Jose Altuve that help every now and then. You've seen him clear in the majors. Also, multi-sport athletes. Unlike many other people on this list, I'm not saying that they aren't multi-sport athletes, but we've literally seen it from Pablo, and he's amazing at all of them. He's a great receiver. He's a great quarterback. I'm pretty sure he could play hockey pretty well. I think the only one that he wasn't great at was skateboarding or something like that. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Multi-sport athlete. This man is a polymath of sports. Good SAT word. I'm taking Pablo Sanchez with my first pick, and I feel pretty good about it, Rylan.
Yeah, I mean, you should feel good about it. That's a very admirable pick. If I would have gotten that pick, It would have won me the draft without us even continuing. So in some ways, you had to bar me from that selection. So with this pick, I'm caught between my GM hat and my relying on social media poll hat, because
Okay. Yeah. That's the other part of this. Yeah.
I think that there's a clear cut. I think that the best baseball player ever depicted in fiction is still available, even
I
after
think so too. I think so too.
But I don't think that player gets a lot of fan votes. I think that is a demographic not necessarily on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh God. What's he gonna do? This is so good. He's the best in the business, guys. He knows how to drum up excitement.
I'm gonna go Dottie Henson, catcher. A league of
Ah!
their own. Catcher,
Ah!
one of the hardest positions to find, and I think that I've got the best one on the board. I love Crash Davis. I really do. I believe that he can go back and get it one time, but that's a lot of heart. Donnie Henson's a lot of analytics. It's a lot of production. It's a lot of fact. The fact of the matter is Dottie is going to get it done. Crash, you're hoping for a crash out, and I don't want to hope for crash outs. I want to hope for an actual legitimized production. That's what I get with Henson, and that's what I get with diversity. So,
Okay, look at him going for the fan vote big time. I think you have two of the best leaders that you could probably find, and you have two players that just will be able to lead a locker room. Really good people too. Famously, Dottie Henson. Kind of, maybe kind of throwing the game a little bit at it through a league of their own. But like you said, superstar athlete, incredible athlete as showed off at a league of their own, and just good for the locker room. So you're not going to have any issues. And I really do think locker room could become a thing, because we have some crazies. Everybody's seen Major League. There's some nutcases out there. Everybody's seen Bull Durham and all that stuff. But yeah, I love the pick, Rylan. It was what I was going to do too. We are on the same exact page so far. But folks, it's my turn now. And this is a tough pick for me. This is a really tough pick, because there's so many different kind of avenues I could go with this one. And frankly, I'm really nervous for this pick. Some of my favorite kind of under the radar ones are down here, but I'm going to go with I'm going to go chalk again. And I'm going to go chalk because I mentioned at the top of this episode, we don't want to do Spider-Man and, the one time that, Batman played baseball or whatever, because it just feels like, well, then you would just go all superheroes. This is the closest one that I think you can find, at least in terms of mainstream picks, that has a supernatural element to it. And I'm not just saying that. It is, of course, Roy Hobbs from The Natural.
I was hoping you would not draft him. I could have won the draft with that pick, and you really grabbed them.
I had to, and here's the thing, and I'm going to make my case, even though I don't think I have to do too much. The Natural, one of the things I like about that movie is it really has another layer to it of subtext of a lot of supernatural things, the thunder hitting the tree, the weird the kind of the cyclops of the people sitting in the booth afterwards, the evil greed. There's some really well written articles about kind of the Greek mythology sort of vibes towards The Natural. And that's the whole thing, is it's very out of control, this guy. And what I love about him is he's not a bad clubhouse leader. He's maybe not going to be a plus, right? Kind of comes in there, does his own thing. He's a little bit all business to a degree. But this man also, he struck out the whammer. Rylan, do you know who that is? Clearly a parallel for Babe Ruth, one of the most celebrated greatest baseball players ever. And shouts to whoever directed that movie. I bet it was a Boston fan who was like, I'm going to take a shot at Babe Ruth here. And also, I just said struck out. That's right. He's also a pitcher. I don't know if I'm going to use him in my pitching slot, but the fact that he's got positional versatility, I think aids me greatly. And he's also a legend. This man survived murder, Rylan. Survived it. Took a shot right to the chest and came back. I like that for my ball players. I like a guy who's going to get shot and heals like Wolverine and comes back. Maybe not quite that good. He was God for 20 years, but you get my point. The fact that this man can be that good so late, he's the natural, man. He's just a natural born athlete. What can I say?
Yeah, that's all fine and well. I've already turned my draft card in. You were pulling a Jay Billis, a Mel Kiper, or whoever fans at home were waiting and waiting and waiting because on the ticker it said pick is in, but yet you're still talking. The pick is in. The commissioner's out there getting booed, obviously, and he's saying that my team selects Willie Mays Hayes, a marketable, elite athlete, and someone who I don't care about you analytical nerds. What about his WAR? What about his WAR plus C minus? Don't care. Gets on base, fast as heck, and this is just a guy who, for whatever reason, comes up in the big spots. He's raw, but is he effective? And baby, that's what you want late at night in these ball games. Raw effectiveness. Willie Mays Hayes gets it done. Willie Mays Hayes is an elite plus straight. That's all you need to know.
I mean, yeah, superstar athlete. You can't go wrong with Wesley Snipes. You really can't in a lot of ways. Love that man very much. Really quickly, do you remember who I took with my second pick? was it? I'm just blanking on it because I'm trying to keep track. I'm trying to keep track of both. Do you remember? Do you have it?
Pablo Sanchez.
It was Pablo Sanchez. Then it was Roy Hobbs. Who else did I take? I'm blanking right now. Is it just those two?
Yeah,
I think it is, right? Okay.
I've got 3. You've got 2 so far.
Okay. Willie Mays Hayes. Let me just make sure I get that right. Mays Hayes. Yeah. I mean, look, Wesley Snipes. We all love him very much. Really great pick by you. And a speedster. Add that element to things. Gets on base, like you said. Pretty good stuff. However, I don't think that he's even the best Wesley Snipes role, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. I am now going for clutch. And I already have clutch with Roy Hobbs. We all saw the end of The Natural. Make no mistake. And we all saw that Rylan was trying to take shots at me for taking too long. Because God forbid I class up the joint and explain things for people a little bit. My next pick, I think I could get later, frankly. I really do. I really do. I think I could get it much later. But I think that this is just going to be one that I stick in your freaking mouth. You know what I'm saying? I want this to be one that you're like, wow, did I mess up? And it is perhaps the single most clutch player in the history of fictional baseball players. It is Mr. Bobby Rayburn from The Fan. Oh, Rylan's like, what is that? I've never heard of this. Well, it is a really weird thriller movie with Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes in it. And basically, it stars a superstar player for the San Francisco Giants who's a little bit of a diva. He gets in there, you know what I mean? And everybody's like, wow, he's struggling. And the fans hate him. And they're mad at him, and he is like, what the heck, man? And Robert De Niro's character starts doing anything it takes to help his beloved Bobby Rayburn do better and get out of his slump, including murder. And speaking of murder, in this movie, Rylan, let me explain what happens. Robert De Niro, who's basically just like mentally, like he's messed up, right? Like this guy's a psychopath in a lot of ways. He's messed up. He pretends that he didn't know who he was and saves his son from drowning in the ocean. And then he's invited over, he's all this stuff. And then what does he do? Bobby Rayburn's like, screw the fans, man. Like, if I don't do well, all of a sudden they hate me. You know what I mean? Why those people, like, they don't care about me as a person. Oh, and the fan, Mr. Robert De Niro, doesn't like that. So you know what he does? He kidnaps his son. And what does he do, Rylan? He says, I will kill your son if you do not hit a home run tonight. This is a real movie, guys. I'm not making this up. And what does Bobby Rayburn do? He hits only a double. I think he hits a single or a walk or something like that. And he hits the ball. And obviously the drama's there. Everybody's like, why is he going for it? He hits an inside the park home run to save the life of his son, who is then, he's called out at home, but he wasn't. Right? Because the umpire is Robert De Niro. He killed the umpire too. And he snuck out to the field somehow. And it ends in a standoff and all these things. He says, hey, Bobby! All this ridiculous stuff. Robert De Niro out of control of that movie. Rylan, I dare you. I quadruple dog dare you to find a more clutch moment in this. This man had to not just get a hit, not just do well in a season. He had to hit specifically a home run or his son would die. Go ahead. I dare you.
Depends how good of a son he is if you wanted him to stay around or not. But yeah, that's listen, could have made life a lot cheaper. Could have made life a lot cheaper without a kid running around. But that's fine. It's totally irrelevant because no one knows who in the world that is. You and 20 other people saw that movie. I'm happy for you, though. I mean, it sounds like a real thriller. Totally not made in 16 days on a soundstage that has awful, quality graphics and such. But nonetheless, my team right now is shaping up really well, Javi.
Mm.
Benny in the middle infield, up the middle. They say you have to build your team through the middle, Javi.
Mm.
On the plate, Dottie, Willie in center, Benny everywhere, up the middle infield probably on my team where things rest, but we'll see where that goes. Next up for me, Wild Thing. Wild
Oh,
Thing, Ricky
okay.
Vaughn. Give me
Okay.
the listen. All we care about now is velo. All we care about now is guys who can just pump a hunch in there. Nobody better. Nobody better than Wild Thing. I like a guy who's been in the pen. I'll say it. I'll say it just like that. We need a certain edge, but here's the thing, Javi. We have now that penitentiary edge. We have now a guy who can really brush you off the plate and get you within an inch of your life. But we have the locker room to control him, a locker room to talk him down when necessary. So I think that we have the perfect mixture to bring on a character like Wild Thing Ricky Vaughn, who is actually kind of a big teddy bear when you really get down to the root of his character. So I just think that with Ricky Vaughn, I have the best pitcher for modern baseball, and that's who I'm going to go with.
I think the guy who has like mythical elements on his side and struck out Babe Ruth and like was throwing no hitters through 9 innings, and Roy Hobbs is a little bit better of a pitcher, but
if he's a pitcher, you got
well,
to pick
maybe
a
I
spot.
will. Maybe I will. I'm just saying that it's an
Okay,
option.
fine.
So
Use
I'm
him
just
as
saying,
a pitcher. But guess what?
don't be
He's throwing 50 miles
presumptuous,
an
Rylan.
hour to strike out this 50-year-old Babe Ruth who was eating a corny dog 3 seconds ago. Go ahead.
He wasn't 50 years old. He was literally in his prime. That's why Roy Hobbs
Okay,
they have the time skip because they're showing you back then
was
that
throwing a
he would have
medicine
been
ball.
the best. They're showing you that he would have been the best because he literally beat the best. That's what the point of that scene
Yeah,
is.
throwing 60 miles an hour. So what? Zach Greinke throws that, and he's 50 years old right now.
What are we doing here? Oh, but Wild Thing, who could throw the ball into the fucking bleachers if he's not careful. Oh no, that guy's fine. It's like, I'll take my walks. Thank you for the walks. You say thank
Guess
you.
What?
It's
Guess
like
what?
in Moneyball when he says they're just giving you a base. Just take
you're
it.
You're
Say
going to be
thank
so
you.
scared of the 100-mile-per-hour fastball at your dome that you're not going to swing at pitches right to the plate. So it'll be great.
Well, you know what? All good with me. Bobby Raybird's been clutch before. Pablo Sanchez is cracked, as you know. I'm good. I'm all good. And he's got video games on his side. Video game characters are ridiculous, and you know it. My next pick, though, because Rylan is already getting very, very rude in this draft, if you're asking me. I'm not going to lie. I think this is when it starts getting a little bit more complicated, I think, in the draft. I think you start to get past a little bit of the more mainstream, most famous ones, I think. Are there some more famous characters? Sure, but not necessarily the best ones, right? Like, you've still got players from Sandlot. You've still got players that, frankly, you could even do from The Natural, potentially, if you would like to. But I do think that there are a lot of really fun players out there. And what I'm going to go with is a player that people may not have heard of, but I'm going with numbers. I'm going with stats. I don't care. And you know what, Rylan? I know you're doing the popularity nonsense. I give a shit. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I'm here to win, and history will be remembered that way, and that's totally fine. So what I'm going with my next pick is Crash Davis. Actually, I lied. Because Crash Davis. No, you know what? I don't know if I want to go Crash Davis. I think I've changed my mind.
He's turned the card in.
I don't know. This is tough. This is really tough. Well, given the fact that you, I don't know, abandoned our recording of this 7 different times, I think I'm owed a little bit of a retraction on my pick. I think I'm going to save Crash, actually. I'm going to go with, let's see here. What's on my board? You know what? I'm going with numbers, and if people don't want to look up, no problem. I'm going with Steve Nebraska from The Scout, played by Oscar-winning actor, although it happens much later, Brendan Fraser. I'll give you guys the breakdown. First of all, it's Brendan Fraser. And for people who don't like Brendan Fraser, go fuck yourself. Everybody loves Brendan Fraser. Okay. Okay. This guy, he's basically, if you've ever seen $1 Million Arm, is that the one it is? Where they go out and they're just looking around. There's like these 2 scouts. Yeah, I think that's the one with Mad Men guy. That kind of happens with Steve Nebraska. And what happens is he strikes out Keith Hernandez, and he homers off Brett Saberhagen, all these sort of things. So a bidding war breaks out, and he ends up pitching for Major League Baseball. And the thing about this movie is he did go through some personal trauma from when he was a kid and where he came from. So him being uplifted from that was great. This guy pitches a perfect game and strikes out 27 batters. By the way, he was also an MVP quality player at the plate too. This guy is arguably more cracked than Roy Hobbs. For Christ's sake, 27 strikeout on 81 consecutive strikes. I'm not making this up. Feel free to look up the data. Absolutely ridiculous. And he also hit 2 solo home runs. Basically, Rylan, what I have just done is I just picked Shohei Ohtani. That's basically what I did, but with the cracked, out of control, reality breaking powers of movies. Like I'm on some Scarlet Witch shit. Steve Nebraska, I'm going with the numbers. I'm going with the resume. And I do think that in a lot of ways, if we were just going by resume, he's perhaps the greatest player in fictional baseball history.
Listen, Javi, what you just did was like whenever 2 years ago I drafted Ross Detweiler in fantasy baseball. It's not going to work out for you, buddy. I mean, that's just overthinking it to the moon and back. But thank you for that. My next pick is going to be T-Rex Pennebaker, one of the best outfielders we've ever seen play the game of baseball. Made the Brewers relevant. So shout out to him. T-Rex, that's my pick.
Yeah, Mr. 3000. It's a good one. I think you're overestimating how much people really know too much about that movie. I think that's hilarious.
Oh, it's a great movie. And they know more about it than the Scout.
I guess.
He's named after a flyover state, Javi. I mean, what are we doing here?
All right. He had a 40-40 season. Guess what? There's like 7 guys in real life baseball that have done that. Do you know people who have pitched perfect games of the World Series and hit 2 solo home runs and struck out all 27?
Movie wise.
What?
Find me the 40-40 baseball movie guy. That's right.
Find me the guy that pitches a perfect game and hits 2 solo home runs in the World Series.
No one knows what the Scout is. This isn't freaking
1970. It doesn't matter. That's not what we're doing.
Roy Hobbs and Sherlock Holmes was his outfielders.
That's what people are doing. So what if people do? It doesn't matter.
Biggest janitors. My guy played in the bigs.
You also picked the worst Wesley Snipes character. I mean, what are we doing? Rylan, if we just want to do popularity contests, I could just go look up box office. Oh, let me guess. Avengers Endgame is the best movie of all time? Is that what we're going to be doing? No, of course not. Of course not. No. Sounds like a skill issue.
You're on the clock.
All right, whatever, man. Rylan being a jackass as usual. I am now going. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated. I think that for me, now we need to, I've got, let me just check my thing real quick. We've got Bobby Rayburn, we've got Steve Nebraska, we've got Roy Hobbs, we've got Pablo Sanchez. I think that with this next pick, I don't want my guy, Pablo, to be a little bit too out of his element. You know what I mean? I want him to have another person of his age. You know what I mean? I want to have someone else that he can commiserate with when all the guys are drinking their beer in the clubhouse. People are watching baseball in real life. You've had some of these young guys, they have their little station and their little baby bib because they're not of age. So I want to have another person by him. And another person who's got a little bit of natural ridiculousness, right? I'm going with a guy who might even get better. I'm going with an upside pick too. It's Rowan Gartner, Rookie of the Year. Obviously.
So you've now taken away Mr. Strikeout Babe Ruth, by the way. You've relegated him to the outfield.
So?
Okay. But just so you know, I mean, Henry's arm fell off at the end of that movie, so
doesn't matter.
He can't rear back and get one. You're throwing me meatballs the rest of the game.
Doesn't matter. He's young. We'll figure it out, buddy. What are you talking about? This is movie logic. What are we talking about? Henry Rowan Gartner, that's who I'm going with my next pick, because my God, in his prime, this man's out of control. And I need a little bit of clubhouse chemistry for my dude, Pablo Sanchez. I don't want him to get lonely. So, you know what? Am I going soft a little bit? Just a tiny bit, but I'm going with it. I feel good about it. And honestly, I think he might even be just good for the clubhouse in general.
Sure. My next pick, I need some pop in this lineup. It's a fun lineup. It's a good lineup, but I need some pop. I need someone who can provide some hats for bats, which is going to provide us the rally we need to go get you. You know who that is, don't you, Javi?
I don't know if I do.
Pedro Sincero. Come on, man. Come on, Major League. Little pop at first.
Okay. I like it. He's got a lot of pop. You know what I mean? And pop is always good. I still think your offense is incredibly lagging behind mine. I think everything is lagging behind, but especially the offense. But I do
What are
think
you
that this is
talking about?
a solid pick. I like that basically your whole thing is just counting on people not knowing anything, frankly. And in fairness to Rylan, we
Isn't
live
that
in
what
a
every
world.
election in America is about?
That was what I was just about to say. Basically, every election that we've had for quite a long time, I guess we could say. Decent pick. I like it. I do question though a little bit having all those players from Major League on your team, right? Just a tiny bit because I don't know. I just think that might have been a once in a generation type season that they put up. You know what I'm saying? I just don't know if it's going to
But this is
translate. I don't
movie
know if it's going to
logic.
happen again.
You just argued against this point last round.
No, I know. What I'm saying is that I just think that, into another game, into different logic, without that full core together, do they do it? Because that was a team. You know what I mean? I know that they had some famous players like Wild Thing who won't be able to throw a single strike in this game, but I do think that if they're all not together, does it change or whatnot? Now, I will say you have two of them, so maybe that camaraderie will, be there together with both of them. So I like it. Still a solid pick. I don't really think either of
I'd
us
argue
have
I have the three most important guys of that club. I mean, this is wild. This is Wild Thing. This is Willie Mays Hayes. This is Hats for Bats.
I'm just saying, man. You're going a lot into just one movie, and that could be dangerous. That could be dangerous. I mean, you want to go all in on the Dodgers every year? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't usually turn out well. So I don't know. I'm just saying. Moving on though to my next pick. Man, I'm gonna go with another one that I'm just gonna go off of stats. Frankly, and that is Mickey Kaling from Hey Arnold. And here's the thing. I'm picking a cartoon character because if anybody knows anything about anything, you don't even have to know. And yes, Hey Arnold, by the way, before Rylan pulls his bullshit, famously, nobody knows what Hey Arnold is. Yeah, definitely. Okay. But in terms of just like, if you use like how everything works, cartoon characters are ridiculous. You know what I mean? Cartoon characters, they can't get hurt.
If Hey Arnold exists in this world, how come I can't take Bowser from Super Mario Sluggers?
Because, as we talked about in the Malcolm Gladwell rule, their character has to
But
be
in every episode of Hey Arnold, he was not playing baseball. In every load up of
well. That's
Mario
why I didn't pick Hey Arnold. That's why I didn't pick Arnold. I picked Mickey Kaling. So
Mickey's always playing baseball.
Yes. Now,
Okay.
am I allowed to speak? First of all, just quick aside, and we'll drop our character for a bit. Genuinely, really heartfelt episode that I recommend everyone check out. Like of Hey Arnold, like that show's really good and it's really, really heartfelt. It's about nostalgia. It's about growing old a little bit. Just kind of what your legacy is, what you'll leave behind, the influence you lead on others, just having role models, all that stuff. Really good stuff. But Mickey Kaling, the stats. This man was a legend. Career 299 hitter, 533 home runs. By the way, a little portmanteau of Hall of Famers, Al Kaline and Mickey Mantle. That is what they're kind of basing it off of. So just a little trivia for you guys there. And the episode ends with him talking about facing Bob Gibson in the World Series. So he's been clutch before. He's done well, and he's even done well against arguably one of the best pitchers to ever play the game. And also, he's voiced by Rod Perlman, who just fucking rocks. So I'm just doing that. Mickey Kaling with my next pick. Rylan, what are you thinking for your next one?
Yeah, my next one, I'm going to go Marla Hooch. I like DiMaggio. Yeah. Come on, man. This is one of the best players to ever play the sport of baseball. And I think that it's that simple. When you're compared to Joe DiMaggio, what are we talking about? The cover girl for the month of November, according to this research I'm doing here. Shout out Hooch. Shout out the Rockford Peaches. Shout out a League of Their Own. So now, if you're keeping track at home, 2 ticks in the diversity. So I think that this is a well-rounded team. And let me tell you something, Hobby.
Yeah.
You do not just stroll up to the bump and strike out Marla Hooch. Marla Hooch has an eye like DiMaggio, and she's going to absolutely obliterate the baseball, getting on base, setting the table, producing runs, both generated by her hitting homers and driving runs in. I mean, this is the perfect pick. You cannot find many better players, and the fact that she's lasted this long is impressive.
Marla Hooch, great pick. Not gonna lie to you. was considering her for my next one. Not my last pick, but my next one. Just like has an attitude. We love using aura these days. Really good
Oh, she's
aura.
got aura, buddy.
Yeah,
Woo.
she's got aura, man. She's got some aura. I will say she's got that. Great pick. What can I say? Just really good stuff there. I think that overall, um, I'm curious to see the chemistry of both of these teams. I think it could work, or there might be some people who feel a little bit ostracized from the group. But overall, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that pick. So with my next pick now, it gets a little bit interesting. And I have to say, let's recap quickly before we get into, just so everybody can keep track at home. Rylan, can you go through all of your picks so far?
So I have Benny the Jet Rodriguez playing short. I have Dottie playing catcher. I have Willie Mays Hayes in center. I have Wild Dang on the bump. I have T-Rex Pennebaker in left. Pedro at first. Marla Hooch at second.
Awesome. I've got, I'm sorry?
Hoochie Coochie.
Thanks. Say that one more time.
Hoochie Coochie.
I don't know. It's just funny hearing you say that. My picks so far have been Pablo Sanchez from, of course, Backyard Sports, Backyard Baseball, Roy Hobbs, Bobby Rayburn, Steve Nebraska, Henry Rowengartner, and Mickey Kaling. Feel pretty good about it. And now I go to my next pick. I've got 3 picks left. You've got 2. Oh man, here we go. This is where it gets interesting. Because frankly, I am now looking at my roster, and I have to say, the whole crux of my team is obviously perfect. I've absolutely killed it, but I do think we're missing something. We're missing a little bit of that spice. You know what I'm saying? And I think that this is going to be a really, really tough one, but I think I'm going to go with someone who's kind of been through it all. You know what I mean? I'm going to go with someone who just kind of learned about more than just baseball, to keep it PG. I'm going to go with Nuke Lelouch from Bull Durham. I was originally going to pick Crash Davis, but I'm picking the guy who's a superstar and just needed to have all the other things ironed out. For people who have watched Bull Durham, you know what I'm talking about. I think he's going to be a stud. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, that's a good pick. My question for the court is, one, how do we feel about Ed, the horse that plays baseball? Black and white footage of the horse who has one at bat of his life and hit a home run.
Huh. You're posing this for the court? Ooh. Yeah. I guess you could go with this. Small sample size, though.
But in theory, he's one for one with the homer.
I'm not beefing. I'm just saying, like, I'm just giving you some pause. I'm trying to help you.
I'm asking you, would it be fair to assume he hits a home run every at bat?
Nah.
We've seen these other players fail. We've never seen Ed the horse fail.
It's like when you pull up like those Major League Baseball players that pitch like 1 inning and they have a 0 ERA. And you're like, wow, Nick Swisher, 0 ERA in his career pitching by throwing nothing but donuts. I don't know, man. I mean, you could go with the pick, but feels very.
He's on the table. He's on the table.
I love the pick in terms of the aura. It's a maximum aura pick. You definitely got that going for you, but I don't know about the rest.
And then what about Airbud?
Airbud's tricky. I was thinking about this one only because it is multi-sports, but hold on. Pablo Sanchez is too, right? Yeah. So if we're going to go in that direction, I think you can go Airbud. Although frankly, I feel like I don't know as much about the Airbud I just don't remember a lot about these movies. It's just kind of a blur and just a meme. So like,
I'm going to be honest, that was all filler busting because I'm going to take Bump Bailey, right fielder from The Natural.
Okay.
The forgotten star. Listen, you've got Jeter. That's fine and well.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the best Yankee, though.
The
Natural. The Natural was all about the Natural.
Don't take shots at Roy Hobbs. Don't take shots at Roy Hobbs.
Roy Hobbs that. Bump Bailey, if you look at the advanced analytics, it'll show you better player.
Are you sure about that?
Higher WAR, Krat plus, better pitch framing. This guy's just the rare right field pitch framer. He's awesome.
Okay. I do take issue with the idea that the guy who like was just had some mythical thunder literally electrifying shit with him who exploded a fucking stadium
Yeah, but that's PED. So
of it is actually not good.
Congrats
You're
on
like
having
those
Gary
people,
Bonds.
you're like those
Gary
people
Bonds.
who
I'll
are
be
like,
ethical.
for someone who loves saying, "Oh, all the nerds and all this stuff," all of a sudden you're saying the fucking analytics instead of ball go boom, and like, okay, so hey, it's a little bit
But here's the thing:
inconsistent.
if you can sleep at night, you know, in New York City where that never sleeps, if you find a way to fall asleep and you can rest your head on your pillow at night and say, you know what, Ma, I feel good about taking a PED user. Go ahead. As for me in my home, I'm taking Bump Bailey, who did things all natural, literally, instead of Mr. Lightning Bolt Frankenstein. When you go cast that ballot, folks, remember, one's under the influence, one's sober, equal production.
Okay. Fine. I mean, if you want to start bullshitting, it's explaining that Roy Hobbs isn't the best. Like, that's fine with me. Go right ahead. Yeah, I mean, whatever on the pick. It's interesting at the very minimum. Man, Rylan, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is hard. I might actually have to redo one of my picks too, but we'll have to see about that. Because I just realized I have two pitchers. I'm just realizing this now.
For Hobbs, that you have Hobbs that can pitch. Hobbs can play outfield though.
No, I know. I'm talking about because of Rowan Gartner. I forgot that I picked him. I didn't write it down.
Who did you? Because
Rowan Gartner and Nuke. That's the issue.
Oh, you Nebraska. Well, you listen. This is tough for you. You're gonna have to take an undrafted guy then. You just skip your. You want to just skip your pick? I'll do mine. Then you just take an undrafted guy off a bench.
You're funny. Look, if I mess up the pick, it's fine. It means it's my fault. I'll have to go back. I'll probably take Nuke off the list. So if you would like, you could steal him for one of your picks if you'd like. I don't think you need him. You already have your pitcher. So
he's irrelevant to me, like he always was.
All right. You know what? Let's go for. I think. Let me just check my team really quickly. I want to make sure. I'm gonna go Crash now. Instead of Nuke. Let's just pretend. Is that all right with you? If I just pretend I did Crash instead with my last pick, you weren't going to take him.
Yeah,
okay,
good.
So we'll go Crash Davis with the 7th pick. Just a quick explanation. Elderly sage man, you know, a legend. There's just like, he is aura, and I swear to God, if you try to debate that, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Like this guy is it's an all aura pick. I'm going to be honest. Now, does he have skills? Of course he has skills. Greatest minor league baseball player ever, but you know, how will he fare elsewhere? Don't know, but really good defensive catcher. And we've seen those guys succeed and help out other pitchers. So maybe if some problems arise with the natural in his past and he has to come in for a relief inning, even though he's not the starter, if Rowan Gartner's struggling out there, he's a young guy. I feel like, you know, he's going to come out there and be like, look, man, I figured out the real key to life. And the key to life is just falling in love with Susan Sarandon. So don't take this so seriously. Just that's all you have to do. So trust me, kid, this ain't a big deal. And then he's going to feel just fine. So I'm going with Crash Davis for that pick. It's a really big aura pick. But if you don't mind, I'm going to go with my 8th pick now because I had messed up. That is my fault as a drafter. Man, I wish I could pick Kenny Denunez, the heater man. But you know what? I can't because of the pitcher and also because that man got torched. Low key, Kevin Denunez, not doing good from Sandlot. Like, is the stats there? They did mention that he literally was a AAA pitcher. Like, he was clearly very, very good. But unfortunately, we have a lot of evidence of him getting absolutely trashed. With my 8th pick, I am going to go. Do I go absolutely ridiculous with this one? That's the question. I'm going to go with this pick. I'm going to go with Ben Williams from Angels in the Outfield. I'm going more aura. Solid player.
Javi. Go ahead.
Go. No. You know what? I'm just picking fucking Matthew McConaughey. That's what I'm doing. I'm picking Matthew McConaughey basically with this pick. As much as I was also thinking about making the case for Harley Quinn, who always carries a baseball bat, I was about to bullshit you and just fuck with you while I actually thought of my real pick. That's what I'm going with my next one. Don't feel great about it, but got to have some more aura on my team.
Well, I feel great about my pick because I have all the benefits of your player, but an actualized good baseball player. Ray Mitchell, premium position, third base, Angels in the outfield.
Okay.
This is insanely difficult of a position to play. There's not that many good fictional third basemen either. He's got plus tools across the board, and he's got freaking angels helping him. And you're going to doubt God? I don't think so. Mitchell.
You're gonna doubt God? I ain't gonna lie. That's a good pitch, man. Are you gonna doubt God? Hey, that's really good. You said this is Mitchell, right? I can't even. Who played him in this movie? I
Ray
wonder.
Mitchell. I think he's from the OG Angels in the outfield, not the freaking crappy remake.
Okay. I'm just trying to find him. Mitchell. Which is okay. Kurt Ray Mitchell. That's fine. That's fine.
Tony Jackson.
Has the Whammer been picked? I think you picked him, right?
Who you calling the Whammer, buddy?
This is the guy who's basically Babe Ruth from The Natural.
No,
he was not picked. I just wanted to make sure. I'm looking at my draft board, kind of
I've completed my team.
I could go Luke Collins, Little Big League.
I love Luke Collins. It's a great pick.
Little Big League, man. You know, have another kid on there. Have another kid on there. I mean, what else?
Collins was not a kid.
He wasn't?
No, he's a grown man.
Oh, who was the kid in that movie?
The kid was the manager, not the player.
Right. Thank you. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. Luke Collins isn't bad.
Technically, he was the owner of the team plus the manager. So
right. Okay. So you could go that way.
I could go. What a turnaround for him.
I could go extremely niche, and I'm gonna just recommend everybody look up the video game Ninja Baseball Batman.
Not this stuff again.
It's just the funniest shit you will ever see. First of all, incredible. I just want to give a shout to whoever made this arcade game. It's basically these super powered like ninjas who play baseball, and they called it Batman because they hold bats, not because it's actually Batman, but they knew what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. I'm just giving them a shout out. It's an honorable mention for me that I could have gone with Ninja Baseball Batman, specifically Captain Jose, which is the name of the main one. I'm just saying, honorable mention for me. I'm going with Ninja Baseball Batman, Captain Jose. But for me, yeah, I think you got to go chalk, right? I think I got to go Luke Collins. He was just a freaking stud. I have to go chalk. Is it boring? Yes, but I feel really good about the value on this one. I feel like you can make an argument that he's not just better than some of your later round picks, but certainly my later round picks too. I think that's what I'm going with this one. Again, it's chalk, Little Big League. As everybody saw just now, I don't remember too much about it, but whatever. I do remember that this guy was a freaking stud, and I feel really, really good about it.
Yeah, I love my team. I look forward to seeing the results.
Can you now tell everybody really quickly and make a list also for me so I can post this on social afterwards, because I have got them a little bit mixed up right now, but nonetheless, we persevere.
Tell them my roster.
Mm-hmm.
The roster, which is going to absolutely obliterate yours.
Mm-hmm.
Benny the Jet Rodriguez, Dottie behind the plate, Willie Mays Hayes, Wild Dang, T-Rex Pennebaker. I've got Pedro Siriano, Marla Hooch, Ray Mitchell, and Bump Bailey.
Now, let's have a little bit of fun. Let's go with I'm going to spitball some questions, right? I just have some fun with this. Let's start first with who do you want, if you had to name your captain of your squad?
My captain's Dottie. It's between her and Benny the Jet, but I think that she just has a higher moral compass, probably.
You do? Why?
Just from the fact that she has a heart of gold, that she, as you mentioned, did throw a game technically, but not in a White Sox sort of way, in a loving sort of way. Not being as cutthroat could hurt us, but also could really help in a clubhouse full of just, raunchy tryhards. She can kind of level us out a little bit. But Benny would have been a perfect pick for captain as well. Honestly, there's no real significance in it, I guess, besides wearing a C on your chest, but he's the captain.
Totally fair. For me, it's still Crash Davis. Uh, Basically for the reasons that I explained before. This guy's going to be good with talking in a way that's going to be very human, and it's just going to calm everyone down. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
also
that's what I
he's
think
going to
Dottie
roast.
can do.
Yeah, he might just roast the shit out of you too, which is also great. Yeah, kind of what Dottie does. Basically, since that vibe, of course, I was not. Unfortunately, I could not pick her. Obviously, I would much rather have Dottie with my pick, but unfortunately, you were able to pick first. You are a first pick merchant. Some people might even say, and this draft. But for me, also, I'd like to ask you, what's a player you are worried about?
A player from your roster that I'm worried about,
I would say your own, but you could
or
also
my
say one
own
from mine.
roster that I think could like lose me the draft.
Yeah, potentially.
Well, I mean,
Because for me, it's Wild Thing.
Wild
It's
Things
Wild Thing,
Command
right?
is
Yeah.
going to be difficult. See, here's the thing with you: you are a cheater, just like stealing pitches is cheating, and pitch framing is cheating. You've technically got two pitchers on your roster because if your starter got in trouble, you could put Hobbs in there. I don't have that luxury. I just got to ride with Wild Thing. On one hand, it's gonna give him
You know damn well that's bad. He's gonna and listeners, he's gonna try and sell it. But go ahead, go ahead.
On one hand, it's bad because if he doesn't have command that night, we're kind of SOL. But on the other hand, this is a guy who is really reliant upon vibes. This is a guy who is finicky, who can get in his own head at times, and there's no bigger confidence boosts than whenever you look over to that bullpen and nobody's in there. And that's how much I trust him. Didn't need to draft a two-way player like you. Didn't need to cheat. I trust you, big boy. Get out there and let's hum this thing from the bump, man.
Quick question, because I'm forgetting details from Major League. Did he have who was the one with the women problem? That was a Wild Thing, right?
Oh, they loved him. They were all
I know,
over
but
him.
who was
Away,
the player? There was one, right? Like, I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't.
There was a cheating scandal, but he wasn't involved.
Okay, he wasn't involved. Okay, hey, I was not trying to take a shot. I was just wondering because I was worried.
I mean,
I was like, man, you've got two on your team, man. You might have a situation.
The fake media always goes and tries to spin narratives, but for me and my clubhouse, we're staying focused on the 9 in the locker room and gonna stay together.
Okay, fair enough. I'd say if there's someone I'm worried about on my team, I would say I'd be a little bit worried about Crash's ability to play with the rest of the team because he is a very all vibes pick. I still think that he can play well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's shown it. He has shown it. And again, the aura. If he's just with Susan Sarandon, that's what I would do. He has to be with Susan Sarandon the night before. He might hit like a mean double. You know what I'm saying? He might hit a mean double, draw a couple walks, and he might be able to be really good at analyzing pitchers, which I think is really important about this because he's seen so many through the system, some of the greats, right? So he gets to go through and be like, I have experience. I know everything here. And then in terms of, but that's, again, I'm still worried overall about the bat. In terms of someone that I'm scared of on your team, and then you could say one on mine. This is tough. But there is something to be said for Benny's always rising to the occasion. There's something to be said for that. Same thing for Dottie. I'd also worry about T-Rex.
Yeah, after you trashed the pick.
He made, I know. Hey, look, you got to do it for theater. I think you made one of your greatest points that I would have used if I had picked him. He made the Brewers relevant. That's hard to do. You know what I mean? Like, you know how lit you got to be? It's like, I don't know if you saw there was a video of Justin Tucker, like in the projects, like talking to some kids, and they were so excited to see him. It's like, do you know how good you have to be as a kicker for kids to want to be like, yes, that's the player I want to be? You know what I mean? And that I feel like is a little bit of the case with Mr. 3000. But what do you think about my team?
Yeah, it's a really admirable group. I think that you did help me win this draft by picking some irrelevant names. But one name that you did that you might steal a ton of votes in is I think you have the best overall player. Now, granted, look at Mike Trout. Mike Trout's the best overall player in baseball. It doesn't mean a lick. He's gone to the playoffs one time, and the Royals swept his ass. But
you're talking about Pablo, of course, right?
But I'm talking about Pablo. Here's the thing with Pablo, though. While I do believe Wild Thing could sweep him out of the game, just like the Royals swept away Mike Trout, I think that there's a little bit of a Instagram swipe. Oh, this team has Pablo. not even going to look at the rest of the list. That team wins. And that's where I think I get into some trouble. On the field, though, this is the most productive player ever. I mean, you literally cannot make an argument against him. He's never had to go through adversity. He's never had to struggle. By that same token, let me tell you something, son. The Tykes in the backyard are not throwing a hunch out there off the bump, you know?
And my counter for that is you can play against major league players in the backyard sports games. You know what I mean? He has shown that he literally hits against some of the Roy Halladay, Roger Clemens.
No, he did not. He didn't play Red Rocket. He did not play the Rocket, Roger Clemens. Here's what he played. He played if Roger Clemens signed up to coach pitch. Listen, Javi, I hate to break it to you, but the father that threw you coach pitch could have struck your ass out every single time because you were unathletic, uncoordinated, and just a terrible hitter. But he tossed you cookies left and right to get your confidence up and let you hit. And that's what they were doing on backyard baseball. It's for the children.
You sound like those people who are trying to like analyze whether or not a foul was intentional or a pitch was thrown intentionally at someone. Now we're getting into the psychosis of what happened here. And I'm looking at the fact that the game was stated. They never said they weren't trying. There's no story mode. The man just whopped up there. He had the little bat, do his little wobble that he loves doing, and yeeted that ball out of the park, and he was better, and also multi-sport athlete. So I'm not worried about that whatsoever. And drafting Henry, I really feel good about giving him someone that he can talk to because I want him to have fun. You know what I mean? This is about having fun.
Talk? In the backyard, baseball characters talk besides the announcers?
Look, it was an old game. It was an old game. What can I say? But you know what? Sometimes
I'm telling you, I think Henry's going to get really tired of hearing, I'm Pablo, I'm Pablo, I'm Pablo.
Look, man, you can turn the volume off if you want. He doesn't always say that. And I think that, overall, sometimes a man of few words, you know what I mean? A man of few words is needed. There's a reason why everybody likes Batman. You know what I'm saying? I would say also as well, just some other observations about my team. The Ben Williams pick, I don't feel amazing about. Solid, really good player, obviously. And I think that everyone in Angels in the outfield just has, like you said, the power of God to a degree with them. And just picking him basically because of McConaughey, whatever. But I really do feel good about the Luke Collins pick. I feel like that was a little bit of an end of draft.
That's a great steal.
Yeah, end of draft. Like, I'm not saying this is a Brady, but this is like when did SGA get taken? 12, right?
Yeah,
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Maybe no, I can't say Jokic, right? I'm just trying to think of like a late round, a second round. Gobert, right? Gobert for the value, yeah. Rudy Gobert, that's a good one. Like not a Hall of Fame player, but defensive player of the year. He's been a stud and all that stuff. So I feel great about that. Are there any other players that you'd like to mention for the good people out there? Just want to give a shout to that you appreciate their work.
I really appreciate the Super Mario Sluggers, but it was put against my will. I couldn't draft them. Other than that, the well kind of ran dry a little bit. So
I like how you say that as if like if you walked up to someone and said, "What do you know Mario for?" that they'd be like, "Yeah, hitting baseball." No, they'd be like the mushrooms and the superstar and that really cool sequence in the animated movie at the end. It's like, come on, what are we doing here? Love that. I already shouted out Ninja Baseball Batman. Some other picks. There's this ridiculous anime where I was thinking about making the case for him because he is genuinely a huge baseball fan, but it's not brought up enough. But he flies at Mach 20 speed. For those curious, the fastest speed ever recorded is Mach 7. So he basically would be a cheat code. But I decided, now maybe if in the future we limit it, you know what I mean? We release the constraints a little bit, then he could be revealed. But shout out to Assassination Classroom, one of the most ridiculous shows ever. And most ridiculous because of the premise and also because of it will literally make you cry. Rylan, if you watch this, I promise you would cry at the end. It's genuinely one of the most shocking things that I've ever seen. Also want to give a shout out to Ginny Baker of Pitch. Unfortunately, I think, she had the success. She was up there. Big major league hitters could not hit that I think it was a screwball that she threw. But anybody who watched that show literally got hurt at the end. That is how that ended. And that's just like, if I could get like first 6 episodes, Ginny Baker, that's one thing. But I was too scared that you would throw that at me. You know what I mean? But with the
Yeah.
possibility, with the versatility of my team, the fact that you've got good vibes basically all around, the fact that I can throw, Roy Hobbs out there, I could throw Rowan Gardner out there. He's the starter, don't get me wrong. Rowan Gardner's the starter. But the fact that I have him, the fact that Steve Nebraska could also pitch in a pinch, and he struck out 27 batters, Rylan, for a perfect game of the World Series and hit 2 home runs. So ridiculous resume. I feel really good about my team, but overall, Rylan, this has been a blast. Everybody, you've been listening to another episode of Baseball versus the World. But Rylan, if you have anything to plug, any final thoughts that you'd like to share for the people, go on ahead.
Javi, you're the real superstar here. I hope the Padres go far for you because you're the best character on Locked On. So I really cannot wait for you to get to bask in the glory of winning a World Series someday. This has been an honor, a privilege, a long time coming. And go my team. Go vote for me. That's all.
Do you have a team name?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. Dottie's Dots is one.
Not bad.
Benny and the Jets.
Yeah, of course.
I'll roll with Benny and the Jets.
Okay. Maybe we might do for social. Maybe we'll both come up with our team names. I don't know. That remains to be seen. But for now, Rylan, I appreciate the good words. And everybody, with that said, you have been listening to the first ever 17th episode of Baseball versus the World, a podcast about how the world relates to baseball and how baseball relates to the rest of the world. Go follow me on Twitter at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO, and be sure to follow the show account at Baseball vs. World on Twitter and Instagram. Also, go check out the YouTube, of course. If people are listening on audio, we have the video there. Instagram, Twitter, both been picking up with those, been sharing all the graphics and socials, so be sure to check that out. And also check out Rylan at Rylan_Stiles if you are into NBA talk by any chance, if you want really good coverage of the Thunder, who, while you might be thinking, I don't care, but they are probably going to be one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the NBA for a long time to come. So good job by you, buddy. So good job by Rylan. Everybody go check that out. Again, always stay loving baseball. We will see you next time.